Alright, welcome everybody. This is ButteryGreg, and I'm here in game number 1 of, I believe, the qualifier match for ESC. It's going to be a clan war, of course, between Team Legion and Decerto. And our first match is going to be between Team Legion's Theory, who's spawning in the top right as the purple Protoss, and Decerto's Matty, who's spawning in the bottom left as the pink Terran. So, it is going to be PvT in cross positions on Shakuras Plateau. This is the MLG version of the map, as we can tell, because the depot's here. And I actually really enjoy PvT. People say, some people say, not everybody, but some people say that it's kind of an imbalanced matchup due to a couple of the buffs that Protoss had lately, whereas previously people said it was imbalanced because of the 1-1-1. But I think the game's actually in a really good position right now. There's a lot of options that both players have early game. We could see Matty, on a map like this in cross positions, we could see Matty go for a very comfortable fast expand, which would sort of set us up for a macro game. We could see him go for a very aggressive opener. He could open with a 2 racks, you know, sort of little concussive timing push. That's generally a very good build to go with, because it allows you to pressure the Protoss player while allowing you a pretty fast expansion. So, you know, there's a couple of options there. Sorry, got a little distracted. But and you know, from the Protoss side of things, I think we're almost certainly going to see a 1-gate expand, which I know Terran has a lot of different options, but Protoss generally has a very single focus early game. And here we actually do see that Matty is throwing down 2 barracks and no gas yet. So this is going to be either an all-in or a variant on a gasless expand. I think it's most likely to be a variant on a gasless expand. It's kind of cool, actually, getting these 2 barracks like this. He's going to be able to make a lot of Marines. He's going to be able to pressure quite effectively. Meanwhile, we see that Theory's actually gone with a 15 Nexus first. I suppose I omitted that from the list of the builds. There's really 2 builds that you'll see out of Protoss in sort of a macro-oriented gameplay. Really 3 if you count 4-gate, but that's not a macro build, of course. It's either going to be Nexus first or it's going to be 1-gate expand, because there really isn't that much of a way for Protoss to effectively pressure in the early game while also taking a fast expansion like there is for Terran. Okay, so we see Matty's got his 2 barracks up here. He's got his wall in place here. This probe did sneak in, so Theory does see everything that's happening in this game, and we're going to see what exactly his read is. So this is actually what I was really excited about seeing with these early barracks, because I think Matty's in a great position to expand behind this. Like, this is by no means an all-in, but he's got a lot of Marines out. Well, 3, you know, it's not a huge number, but now he's got 5. So he's got a good number of Marines. He can actually go and put a decent amount of pressure on Theory. And I hesitate to say punish him, but he can apply pressure and he can make Theory work to hold this expansion, which is really nice to see in this matchup. We see the Theory's Cybernetics core is not done. He's scouted these early Marines. Ooh. This is actually going to be an all-in. We see Matty pulls all of his SCVs. Here I was talking about how this was going to be a great setup for like a macro game because he expanded behind it. He goes and pulls his SCVs on me. Alright, cool. So this is actually going to be nearly impossible for Theory to defend. He's got 1 Zealot. He's up against a lot of SCVs. He's going to need to pull all of his probes to defend this. He's up to 2 Zealots now. He's frantically chrono boosting out extra units. He can safely sacrifice this expansion, so we see he retreats into his main. He pulls most of his SCVs, and now he's going to use, or so he pulls most of his probes. He's going to use these to tank damage against these SCVs. And hopefully he's going to be able to cut through these SCVs very quickly so he can get to these Marines, because the Marines obviously do the real damage. His first Stalker's about to come out here. Theory has just enough money to make another Stalker, but he's not using his gateways. Oh no. However, it looks like Theory is going to hold. Very nice mineral trick on the probes there. He's still got 2 Zealots and a Stalker left. Matty's down to 1 Marine. So this did cost both players a large number of workers. Let's look at the workers kill tab. It's almost even. 17 probes for Theory, 18 SCVs for Matty. Of course, Matty has mules behind this, so if we pull up the income tab, we see that he is ahead in income, which kind of puts this game in a really interesting position. I would say that he did not win the game, but at this point, Theory has 2 Nexuses with which to produce probes. He's going to go for a counterattack here. I don't know if this is the best idea, because Matty does have very high levels of Marine production. I think Theory's going to spot that and turn around immediately. Anyway, so I think we're kind of in an awkward position, because that all-in didn't fail, but it didn't win the game. I'm going to call it an all-in, of course. So Now, you see one of two things. Like, we're going to see another wave of attacks here. But the difference, from Theory's perspective, is going to be that he's had these 2 gateways now. He can make a lot more units. He's got a lot less mining probes, of course. But it's his by having more units, he's going to be in a much better position to defend this second wave. However, at the same time, Matty has a lot more Marines than he did the first time. He's got fewer SCVs, but more Marines, so he's going to be able to do more damage. And Theory really doesn't have a bigger army, he just has more production. He's got more Stalkers. Of course, you can micro-Stalkers against Marines, but only to a point. And here we go. Here comes the next engagement. He's microing back against these Marines. Picks off 2 Marines. Things are looking okay. Picking off a couple more Marines. The Marines are going to go... Actually, they're going to focus down the Stalkers. It's probably a good idea. He's delaying pulling these probes as long as possible. Finally, he's forced to pull these probes. Oh, these Stalkers are going down. The Marines are doing a ton of damage to them. And at this point, I think Theory's kind of in a bad position. SCVs kill off another Stalker. He's down to 2 Stalkers in red health. These probes are not going to be any good against Marines. Marines have much too high DPS for probes to attack them. Probes can generally go up against Marauders, but they can't go up against Marines like this. So, I think Theory could lose this game at this point. I don't know, this is just way too weird for me to call, but I would say the definite advantage goes to Matty. He's got the supply lead, of course. Very interesting turn of events here. The second wave of the all-in is always the most dangerous for Terran all-ins. Sometimes people forget that. But, there's the GG, so Decerto is going to go up 1-0, and I'm going to find out who's playing in game number 2.